As we mentioned at the top of the hour, reports say a Canadian is among those who were wounded in a shooting at a seminary school in Jerusalem yesterday. The 15-year-old is said to be in hospital in intensive care after being shot in the stomach. Meanwhile, 3 of the victims have been laid to rest. They were killed when a Palestinian gunman entered the school library and opened fire. 5 other students were killed and 9 wounded. The attacker was also killed. Joining me now to talk about how this will affect the peace process is Marc Gopin. He's a professor of religion, diplomacy, and conflict resolution at George Mason University. And I think the Middle East peace process sounds like it could use you right now. Do you think this is completely off the rails? What chance is there?
Well, Katie, I think that this is a part of a cycle of violence that is always destructive to efforts at negotiations. And I think that it just proves that high-level negotiations that don't build deeper trust on the popular level are bound to be derailed by extremist events like this that are a terrible tragedy. We
don't know yet the motive behind this. I mean, Hamas first of all claimed they did it, then they denied it pretty much at the same time. So, I mean, we don't even know which organization this man, said to be from Arab East Jerusalem, is. But if the motive is what we suspect it is, what about retaliation?
Well, his family are flying Hamas flags over their mourning tent, so that's one connection. On the other hand, a group announcing itself as taking revenge for the assassination of Munya in Damascus is another possibility. In either case, it represents a part of the cycle of revenge that involves purely military approaches to the situation that we're dealing with. Obviously, Israel needs to defend itself against terrorists and arch-terrorists, but the problem is there's no real game plan here for strengthening negotiations by building confidence between these two peoples. And that's something that a third party like the United States should have been concentrating on in the last 8 years. And it's a lost opportunity to build serious relationships between two peoples that are very wounded in different ways, namely Israelis and Palestinians.
So what kind of gestures, then, do you think we need to focus on?
Well, I think that for years we had a very progressive man heading up the economic development in Palestine by the name of Salam Fayyad. He needed billions of dollars in order to truly invest in people's lives and improve their possibilities of employment. There are many things the Israelis could do to facilitate the lives of innocent civilians, and especially not engage in collective punishment when they do have to go after terrorists and militants. It's very important to build confidence on only targeting people who are directly involved in the crimes, and B, giving economic opportunities to the Palestinians and freedom of movement that will allow them to build up a hope in the future. Correspondingly, the Israelis need a gesture from Palestinian leadership that says that no matter what is happening with extremists, we are moving forward with an educational plan on coexistence and the equality of Palestinians and Jews in this region. And that also would be sending an important signal to the Israeli population that's deeply wounded now by this attack and is severely complicating relationships between Jerusalem residents Arab Jerusalem residents who are in a very compromised position as a result of this terrorist act.
So I'm going to need a fairly short answer to this, if you could help me out with that. But do you think it's the White House is perhaps too involved? Do you think it would help if Olmert and Abbas could meet in private so they weren't in the spotlight quite as much?
I think absolutely that right now, when cycles of revenge and violence are at their height, it's better for things to be very quiet, to put neither of the politicians on the spot. I also think that what really needs to be concentrated on is getting both sides to improve the quality of the relationship and the trust of their peoples, rather than focusing on exclusively high-level negotiations that no one knows about and that are bound to create tensions with their populations. They need to...
We have to leave it there, Marc Gopin. Thank you very much for your thoughts. We have to take a break now. Stay with us.